Hey guys, good morning. It's May 17th, 2021. We're on row 5 of our Serendipity charity quilt along. So if you would like to donate, the link is below. We've raised over $75,000, which means we're really at over $105,000, which means we are going to be able to grant at least 10 wishes to make a wish. So that is so exciting. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart and Kevin's heart. We are so appreciative that everyone has sewn along with us and donated. And I'm going to kind of jump right in. This block is probably I wouldn't say the hardest one, it's just the largest one, and it has a lot of corner squares. And I did see the question from Crafting a Plan Life on how to cut down the leftover border that we're going to save. So I'm going to put this aside, and at the very end of the video, I'm going to do that because I have all this here and I'm afraid I'll get it all messed up. So I'm going to put this aside and I will do this before we end. So I went ahead and got all of my Release 5 patterns out. It's 4 pages. So the block is pretty, I wouldn't say it's too big. It's only 12.5 inches. It's just got a lot of pieces. So what I'm going to be demoing today is I'm going to do these 4 square in a square using the 3-inch square in a square pad. The rest of these are all just a lot of corner squares. And I'm going to cut everything for the entire row, except I'm going to piece one block. And hopefully I'll piece the right colors. So what I have gone ahead and done is I put my little yellow sticky on the traditional method. Now the traditional method is what you want to use if you don't have your paper. So the difference in this block is traditional, you would do your square in a square, just the normal corner square unit. Today I'm going to do this, so I'm going to follow all of this. And we kind of keep everything just in 2 rows just to make it easier. So I've covered up the traditional and I've ironed my fabrics. I'm going to go ahead and start with my background fabric. This is my accent and these are all of my other prints stacked. So I'm going to kind of move these out of the way. And I'm going to press this slightly before I start. So I'll pull the iron, and this is starched, and you can tell it's starched just because of how stiff it is. And I'm just going to get some of the creases out and just line up kind of the fold. And I think you're going to be able to get enough for this block out of this leftover piece. And then at the end, I'm going to show you what we're going to do for that piece we cut off in month 1. Now, of course, it's not really relevant if you're going to piece your borders with the fabric. I cut off a piece so that I can do length of fabric, and I'll go into really long detail at the very end. So I want to get as many creases out as possible before I cut so that my pieces are more accurate. So I've got a line there. So I'm just going to iron, get all my wrinkles out before I start. How is Texas today? It is nice. It's going to be raining all week. It did rain. It rained so hard on the way to Emma's dance. Yesterday I was going like 10 miles an hour. And I told her, I was like, well, you're probably going to be late. She wasn't late, but still. Okay, so I've got this cut. And, okay, so for A, I need 3 by 12.5. So on that, I do not like to use this part of the fabric if I can't. So I'm actually going to cut 4 3.5 and just save that piece for later because I don't like to have to iron this out, because I don't like doing it and I also don't have time to do it. So I have this double layered right here. So I'm going to cut a 3-inch strip first. Now, of course, when I'm cutting, this is just to show you what I do, but you don't have to feel like that's what you have to do at home, because everybody does everything a little bit different. So I'm going to put the line of my creative grids right at the 3-inch. and just make sure it's lined up all the way. Cut. Okay, then I'm going to move this aside and I'll restart my cut again. And when we write our It's So Emma or fat quarter shot patterns, we do write them where you cut your biggest pieces first. So from here, I'm going to line this up right here, cut this off, making sure I get all of the salvage off. And you just want to make sure all your dots, that's how you can tell where your salvage ends. Rotate this without trying to move it too much, which that's kind of moved it a lot, but it's kind of hard on camera. So from here, I'm actually going to use this ruler. It's 12.5. And then I will put these three, oops. I'll put 3 of these on my board as A, and I'll save this, and we might use it today, we might not. We'll probably use it eventually. So that's A, and then B we need, well actually we need 52 20-inch squares. So 52 divided by 16, let me think, is 3 or 4? Let's see. Because I can get 16 per width of fabric. 52 divided by 16 is, so I need to cut 4 strips. So if I was at home, I would just take my calculator and do that. But in my head, I just know 16. So I'm going to recut a straight line, which if I was at home, I wouldn't have to do this. I just don't have a lot of room here. And I'm going to cut a 5-inch strip and then subcut it into 2 5.5. So I just make sure that I've really got that lined up. And then I'm actually going to turn it first. Cut sideways my 2.5. So I look all the way down. Now I'll go to my smaller ruler and then I'm going to cut everything in increments of 5 and then subcut into 2.5, and then I'll just have some extras. So from here, I line up this bottom line, this line, and this line. And then I'm going to move my ruler. If you pick it up and then move it like that, your fabric is likely to not shift. And again, line it all up. So that gives me 16 because there's 5 per. So we've got that and that. This will make 32, which will be my C's. So I can go ahead and pull this and put this as my C's because there's 32 here. Now I need 20 more that are 2.5, but I'm going to go ahead and just cut all of these into 2.5 because we might need them in another block. Oops, I was supposed to cut the 5-inch first, sorry. So, but you can do 2.5 at a time, you can do whatever. What the heck? I think I already cut some stuff and didn't realize I cut it. And then I'm just going to mark these as my B's, and I'll have leftovers and I'll just set them aside later. And when I put these on the design board, they don't necessarily have to go in order, just wherever I can fit them. So for my D's, I need 32 3¼ inch squares, and these are going to be used for paper because you can tell, so they don't have to be exact. So let's see, 40 divided by 3¼ is, let's see, is 12. So I need 3 strips that are 3 1/4. And they don't have to be exact because I'm using paper, so I'm not going to retrim this edge. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to show you how I cut when I'm working with paper, because this is totally different than I normally cut, because this does not have to be exact. So I'm just going to cut 3 1/4. Over here I'm going to cut 3 1/4. And you can tell I'm not making it exact because it doesn't need to be, and I don't need to spend time making it exact. Now this is how much I'll have left over, so this is enough to start row 6. And I'll set this aside. Now to subcut these into 3 1/4, since they don't have to be exact, I'm going to put 3 in a row, line them up, they don't have to be exact, and just cut. I'm short as well in the background. Should I use the large piece? So we're going to talk about it at the end. So you're not going to be short. You're going to have plenty. Anytime you get a kit that we've calculated, you should have plenty. So I wouldn't worry about it. Love how much you share with us. I have learned so much. Game changer. I've got the Creative Grids square ruler set in the mail, and I love to watch. I love them so much. Oh, thank you. And then Crafting a Plan Life, I'm going to answer that at the very end. Does Best Press give you the same stiffness? No. Now, if you want a light stiffness, that is what Aurifil uses. If I used it, I'd have to put it in the bathtub and let it soak. It just is too, it's not stiff enough for me. Okay, so this fabric has been starched, and if you go back to video 1, I kind of talk about it. But yes, everything has been starched. And then I left one piece unstarched, and that's going to be for our border, and I'm going to starch it and talk about it at the end. Now from here we get a little creative, because this is, so what I did is I stacked in one corner so that they're all there. So fabric, first fabric, second fabric, third fabric, fourth fabric. So over here I don't have all the fabrics because this has been cut into, so I'm going to kind of work right here because I know I've got all 4 layers here because I've used more of the yellow. So from here I need 4 3.5 by 6.5 inch rectangles. So 3.5 times 4 is 14, I think. Yep. So I'm going to cut, I need a bigger ruler. Let's see. Let's see if this goes to 4. Yeah, I'm just going to cut a 3.5 inch strip from this. And then I'm going to cut a 2.5 inch strip, and then we'll come back to it. So 3.5, 2.5, and then the 1.5 I'll get from the leftovers. So from here, I still have that yellow in here. So I got through all 4 layers because that's the one that I had the least amount of. So I'll just kind of fold this back up and put it back in my box for next time. So I'm going to keep these together. So from here I need, I think I did that wrong. I just did that wrong, completely wrong. Okay. Okay, so this needs to be 6.5, so I'm not going to have enough because I didn't do my math right. I was not thinking right. Okay, so this, I need to go until my yellow shows up. So there's my yellow. So I've actually cut this wrong. I'm going to have to cut a whole nother strip. I should have cut it 6.5. That's what I should have cut. And then it would have worked. So let's see. And then I do make sure I've got through all 4. So I actually need to cut 2 more that size. So I'm just going to come back here. Okay, 6.5 plus 6.5 is 13. So I needed 1 more that's about 13. Okay. So that's about 13. Now I'm gonna cut off a little piece and then come back and trim it. That way I can save a little bit over here. So the math I had originally done was if I would have done a 6.5 inch strip. I just didn't do that in my head right. Now from here, yeah, they're all there. And these are the little rectangles that go around the outside of the block. So these are my E's. Put those on my board. And then we need 4 2.5 inch squares. So I'll cut over here. Make sure I've got all 4 layers. And then I'm going to rotate it. And then I'm going to cut 4 2.5 inch squares. Is there a way to get the cutting instructions for the rest of the blocks? They will be released on the 1st and the 15th. So the rest of them will be coming out and it will end in June. So let's see. And I did want to tell you we're not showing the sample maker blocks because they're putting them into the quilt. So that's why we skipped that part. So this is F. And then we need 8 1.5 inch squares. So I know we're not going to get that from here, but we'll start from here and see what we get. We'll get 4, and then I'll have to cut 4 more. So from here I cut, well actually we'll probably get 5. I cut the 6 and then I go down to 4.5, 3, 1.5. That's just how I cut. Now we're gonna need 4 more of these. So I'll go back to my fabric because I obviously didn't calculate right, but this isn't gonna work because this little yellow piece is not gonna work. So I'm gonna cut over here a 3 inch square and subcut it down. So I'll just do this real quick. So I'm trying to minimize so that I use the least amount as possible, but we put plenty in our kits. So if you make a cutting mistake, you should be okay. So from here, I'm gonna cut this. From here, I will do a 1.5. That's not 1.5, that's 1 3/4. See, I almost cut wrong. We'll see they moved, so now I'm gonna cut them separate because they moved too much. So that didn't take too long to cut, about 20 minutes to cut the whole block. Maybe a little bit more, a little bit less, something like that. Oh, and I still have to cut, oh yeah, we still have another fabric to cut. So let me do that because I totally forgot. So that is our accent, and throughout this quilt we use green as the accent. So we need 16 3 inch squares for placement 1, which means, let's see, that's gonna be your piece right here. So they don't have to be exact. So from here, I'm gonna iron this real quick off camera, and then we're gonna see how many we can get from this. So 16 3 inch squares, and they don't have to be exact because they're foundation paper, so I'm gonna cut and not worry about the straightness really. As if, you know, if I was cutting, so this is, yeah, I'm only gonna get 1 strip over here. And then this, that's probably too much to mess with, so I'm just gonna cut that off and get rid of that. You can put it in your scrap pile, but I don't think you need to save it for this. Move this, and then I'm gonna just cut, because this doesn't have to be exact, I'm gonna cut. None of this has to be exact, so this is not how you should cut. This is just if you're using foundation paper, because if you don't have to cut it accurately, don't, because you're just wasting time. So that gives me 5 squares, and they're not exact, and you'll see why. So that's 5. So I need 11 more. So we'll see how many we can get from this. So I'm just going to trim a tiny bit off. If we purchase years past patterns, does that go to Make-A-Wish? So we don't sell the patterns. We provide the patterns for free and ask you to donate, and you can donate to this year's campaign. So we do not sell the patterns. Now I'm going to see how many I get from here. I don't know how many I'm going to get, so I'm just going to move it. And since I don't have to cut accurately, so we've got 5 so far. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So we need 3 more. And see this, oh yeah, that's cut right. Okay, so I'm gonna cut 3 from here, and then I will save this little piece, but it's probably not gonna use it. So yeah, I guess about 30 minutes to cut all this, which is not bad. And I think this block is really pretty. I like how in the rows, when we designed it, that there's some skinny rows, fat rows, you know, it gives it like a depth to it. So let me know if there's any questions. I don't see any questions popping up. Let me see, I'll ask a question. Let's see. Everybody tell me what your favorite row has been so far. So from here, the one thing I haven't shown y'all that I do, and I'm gonna show it now, is, so from here, I really like all my colors to be together. So what I do at home, it's like a deck of cards. This is what I do before I ever start. And I don't know, for some reason I haven't shown y'all this, and when I get home everything's a mess, and I think, why didn't I show that? So literally what I do is I do put all the whites together, and then the blues together, and then the yellows together, so that when you're sewing they're already together and it saves time later. So those are my F's, and I'm gonna actually be using this one, so I'll put that on top. This one first, this one second, this one third, this one fourth, by following the pattern. It just saves time later. And I'll do the same thing on the G's and the E's. I did watch a video about giving your mat a bath, and it's supposed to make the grooves go away. I might try it. I've never tried that before. The first row is your favorite. Yeah, that one's pretty. So someone is saying they can't find it. So if you go to the website, fatquartershop.com, and search Serendipity, they're there. If you go to our blog, you can just search charity. So I'm gonna just stack all my whites. And then my blues. And this is like something that I actually get my kids to do, because it saves me time. So, and we'll be using these as, I'll put these in the same order we put the last ones in. So let's see, blue, tan, white, yellow. It'll just save you time later. I like this row with the courthouse steps. I think it was I like the row with courthouse steps. That was row 3. Yes, I like that one too. I like that one because you use the paper and it's 100% accurate and you don't have to think as much. I like this row. Yay! And the white ones are the ones we're going to use first, so those can go on top. what did y'all do this weekend? I basically sat in my car yesterday for 5 hours to try to get work done, and then I didn't even get everything done. All the moms, the girls were trying out, and all the moms went to this one mom's house. And I was just like, oh, I hope Emma doesn't find out, because she's going to be like, Mom, why didn't you go? Because I was like, no, I'm not going. They're all really nice, but I don't have time to sit and chat. So now we can put our blocks together. Did I do these? Yeah. Okay, so we've got page 1 done. And so if you're doing the traditional, you would follow traditional. We're going to do foundation paper. We need 4 for each block. But what I'm going to do is all of my D's need to be cut on the diagonal. I'm going to go ahead and just cut I'm just going to cut, I guess I'll cut them all. And they don't have to be exact because I'm using foundation paper, so I'll just put them in little stacks and cut. So I don't have to be exact. And I'm making bigger stacks here just because they don't have to be exact, so. But yeah, I'll cut them all, make it easier. I love the flying geese. That's always been a pattern I like because it can be utilized. Yes, I agree. And next, in 2 weeks when we do the video showing the flying geese, I'm going to actually show assembling the blocks so that, because I've already shown in row 2, I already showed how to make the flying geese units, so I'll show different tips on how I do the actual block assembly so that I'm not filming the same exact thing, because that would be pretty boring and y'all would probably tune out. And Dina likes row 3. So I've got that done. So now I'm going to do all 4. So you're going to make 16 of these. Let me show you. They're right there. So you're going to make 16 of these, 4 for each block. So I'm showing the first block, so I'm just going to do 1. I'm going to do 4, sorry, because we're making 4 for each block. So I'm going to take my paper, make sure I have the right size. It's the 3-inch size. And I'm going to make 4, so I'm just going to pull 4 papers off. So 1, 2. And if you don't want your pad to fall apart, just kind of skip around when you're pulling the pages out, and it's less likely to fall apart. So from here, I'm going to use this add a quarter, and I'm going to crease at all 4 intersections, and I have them all lined up. And this just makes it easier for me later. So I'm going to just crease it. Having a light box would help too, like if you put it over light so you can see where you're going, but this works plenty for me. So on the fabric 1, we're going to place the H. So I can now see where the H needs to cover the 4 sides. And it needs to cover there. So on the diagonal. And I'm going to kind of do assembly line where I kind of do all of it at the same time. So from here, just make sure you have covered your green about a 1/4 inch around each side. From here, I'm going to use this, let's see, Sewline glue pen. Put that there. Stick it down. You don't have to use the glue, it just saves time. So from here, I'm going to hit it a couple times, and that's literally what I do at home because I don't want the glue to come undone, and I don't want to use the iron because I don't feel like going to the iron. So I literally hit it. Sometimes Kevin's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Don't worry, it's fine. Everything's fine in the house." So from here, I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to trim all 4 sides. And since I've already creased it, it makes it easier. And I'm going to trim it to a 1/4 inch away, just so there's less bulk back there when you're done. And since you've creased it, it makes it a lot easier. Hi everyone, Kimberly, this is off topic, but will there be a tutorial for the sew by row? So if you go on Riley Blake's YouTube channel and you search sew by row, you will find videos that were recorded about 3 or 4 years ago by Lori. So there are existing tutorials out there from Lori. So we've got 2 out of 4 done. Okay, so what did y'all do this weekend? Let's see if people are answering. Gardening. Oh my gosh, I heard so many people doing gardening. I have never gardened in my life. Okay, and then Crafting a Plan Life went ahead and put the link to the YouTube tutorials that Lori did, so y'all can follow that. I spent my weekend sorting and ordering from you, creasing all of my foundation pieces. I'm getting ready to use. I also sent an email, Kimberly. Let's see what it says. The rest of it says. I also sent an email, Kimberly. Okay, so did you send it to me or customer service? I worked this weekend and I've been working on my second Jolly Bar 3 runner. Made one for my mom, now for my aunt. Yeah, I love that runner and I love the size of it because it's really nice and big. Oh, and I planned a trip to Lori's house. I'm going on July 23rd. I did do that. And I did a FaceTime with Lori yesterday. I think it was like 2 hours. We planned something. I'm going to show y'all a little picture of it too on social media. I just haven't taken it yet. So from here, I like to do 2 sides at a time. So we're going to be using the fabric D triangles. So what I like to do here is just put some glue. And, oh, actually, we're not going to be able to do, well, we could do 2 by doing this. Let's see. You just have to be careful when you're assembling it that the triangles don't go into each other. And then I'll just press it down. Ripped out carpet in our upstairs bedrooms and hallways. What a nightmare. Oh, that sounds rough. I'm going to be an honorary judge at the Memphis Barbecue Festival in May. Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. Except that oh, I got to see Jan Hicks this weekend. She's a cross-stitcher. I worked triple, but if I were quiet after midnight, I was allowed to craft. Oh, if it was quiet, I could craft. Yeah, my body hurts from working so much this weekend and driving. Oh my gosh. Christopher won his baseball game, so they have another baseball game tonight and their playoffs, and he got the game ball. I was so excited. He's really he's scared of the ball, so he hit a ball and he hit it far. I was like, whoa. I guess left field, right, I don't know. Straight ahead of you. I don't know where he hit it. He hit it somewhere. He got to third base. I was so excited. Well, I mean, he eventually scored, but that was like a record for him. So if I was doing this at home, I would do all 16 at one time, but we're just doing one block today. So from here, let's see. I will just flip over my paper. And I'm keeping these little triangles out of the way so I don't sew over them. I'm going to put my stitch length to like a 1.5. I'm going to start, so on the paper, right here is where you need to start. But I like to start out here because that way when I rip the paper, stitches are less likely to come out. So I start out here. That's optional. That's up to you. Just stitch on the line. And the more accurately you stitch, the more accurately your 1/4 inch is going to be when you cut in. When you cut it around, if you're off, your 1/4 inch right here is going to be off. So then I just flip it around and make sure this triangle is not under my seam and kind of do that. Flip it over and do the same thing. My husband and I put up our outdoor lights and worked on clearing out storage items. Amazing the things he keeps, so a lot of walking down memory lane. I was in Texas celebrating my son's master's degree at Lamar University. I think that's in Houston. I watched Lori Holt. So yeah, Lori did a video showing all of her new fabrics coming. I worked on the World Peace quilt top. Yay! So I sent that quilt to Pat Sloan, so you're gonna actually see that on her channel soon too. Lots of cross stitch thanks to an owie foot. Oh, that's funny. I was like, what's an owie? I was like, what's an owl foot? I went to my daughter's yesterday for belated Mother's Day. It was enjoyable and I came home full. Yay. I got caught up on my Serendipity. My favorite was row 3. I love the paper. Yay. Okay, so now I will move this kind of out of the way. Move this to the side. And we're going to iron. Actually, from here, I'm not going to iron. I'm actually going to just use this because it saves time. And this is actually what I do at home. So from here, oh, look what I did. Okay. So right here, look, I sewed that. I sewed that, but it's okay. It's going to come off. So I'm going to pull this up on the edges. On all of them. Just pull to the green, to where you've already trimmed the green. Oops. And even though I tore that, it'll be okay. I moved my daughter from San Diego to Tyler, Texas. Oh, Tyler, Texas for college. Okay, so what's in Tyler? I don't even know what college is in Tyler. Are you going to be making any square to square? Yes, we have more in the works. They're in the testing phase. So from here, the first thing I'll do is just press these with the seam roller by Lori Holt. And just get them flat, and then I'll probably run them over actually I think I'll probably run these over the iron real quick too. My aunts came to visit from New Mexico. We had lunch, and I made my aunt a cathedral window pillow. I've never made one of those. We've been having a lot to do to shelter in place here on the border, so I took some wallpaper down I've been avoiding. Okay, so I'm actually gonna go ahead and press these. I think that they're just a little too big. Now, when you're working with the foundation paper, you're supposed to not use the steam, so I turned that off. And when I'm pressing, I want to make sure that I don't get a duck pleat. So a duck pleat is where it's over here, and you accidentally don't get all of this flat. So I'm going to make sure those are nice and flat, so that when your block comes out, it's not bumpy. So see how nice that looks? Now, it works, that seam roller does work. I just feel like these pieces are just a little too big. Sorted and washed raw wool fleece for spinning. Camping in our 5th wheel. And cut a ton of scraps to sew. Yay! So nice and flat. I went and got gas this morning. It was so expensive. I thought, oh my word, I'm gonna about fell over. Okay, so from here, I'm just gonna use scissors to trim this, and I'm just gonna try to go flush with the green. You could also use a rotary cutter. That's why I pulled that up. It's up to you what works better for you. I'm just gonna use scissors. I'm enjoying the Sail Away Mystery Cross Stitch. glad I'm into cross stitching again. Spent yesterday learning how to make non-alcoholic drinks with flowers that are in season. Oh, flowers. Visiting my parents, 91 and 98. Wow. So tomorrow I'm going to my nephew's graduation. He's graduating high school. So I have to sleep a lot because I have to drive. I don't like to drive, so I think it's like 4.5 hours. Have you owned all of Lori's fabric lines? Yes. But I owned them all well before we were friends. But I mean, I've used some of them. I don't have all of them now. But yes, I've owned every one of her lines. I used to tell Riley, like, oh my gosh, she's your best designer. Okay, so then this is just trash. So we'll do the same thing. And sorry this is taking so long. This block is a little intense, so. But I do want to take my time because I do want my blocks to be nice, so trying not to go too fast. So I've got my glue. And I'm going to do the same thing. And you can use less glue. You don't have to use glue. You could pin. This is just what I found works. And just a little bit of pressure will keep it most of the time down. It's totally up to you if you want to. Some people think, you know, the glue, it's, you know, it's supposed to be safe. So I just use it. What happens if you don't cut off the extra parts? Oh, then you will have a big old bump by your seam, and it will look bad. It will you'll have, so right here you cut into your 1/4 inch and you'll have a big old bump right there. Your block will go like that. Like my sound effects. I got good sound effects today. Let's see. So this row will take quite a bit to do. This will probably be your longest. Oh, I have glue on my finger. That's funny. So, and I just kind of keep the points in the center so that I don't sew over them, because you know that does happen. So you could do one at a time if you wanted, if it's easier. Does the glue gum up? No, it doesn't gum up my needle. My oldest granddaughter graduates Saturday from high school as valedictorian. Oh, wow. That would not have been me. Okay, so then I'm just gonna kind of leave my little flaps in the center and then just stitch over here. How much is gas? I paid $3.80 this morning for premium, and I about fell over. I was like, excuse me, what? And it was not one of the gas stations that charges a lot, so, because the ones by my house charge more than the ones by work, so it was one by work, so I was kind of surprised. It made me glad that last night I was gonna get gas on the way home, and I didn't, because I just forgot. Met a friend in Sealy, Texas. Oh, I used to go to Sealy when I was little. My grandmother used to live in Belleville, Texas. And it's kind of by there. So I'm kind of just flipping it over to make sure my stuff stays out of the way. Fabric, points, whatever you want to call it. And then I will try on the next sections to kind of mass. Do the steps. Oh, okay, look, I did it. I sewed over the little tip. I knew I was going to do it. Okay, I'll fix it in a second. Let me sew this one. Even though I was looking, I still did it. So I'm just going to, that's a lovely block. Look at that. That's so funny. Okay, so I'm just going to take out the stitches that are relevant, just right here. I'm not going to take the whole thing out. And since I'm stitching with a really small stitch length, it is harder to get the stitches to come out, but they will come out. Okay, so now I will just sew over that little section. Okay, so now I will, are you tempted to chain piece all the papers? No, because y'all would be on the computer, y'all would be watching me till like noon. But at home, I definitely would. Yeah, at home, I definitely would. And I love these papers. I've always struggled with square and square blocks, always. So I can't wait for our new papers to come out. And so I'm just, I'm letting the iron sit in a little bit longer than I normally would because there's no steam coming out of it. Oops, sorry. I just hit the sewing machine with the iron. But I am letting the iron really sit on it because I just feel like it's not as hot with the steam. And I'm also really putting my iron right there to make sure it's flat. And using this paper actually saves fabric because you cut it on the diagonal. And by cutting on the diagonal, you have to cut less squares, so you actually save fabric using this one. Okay, so from here, these should be 3.5. So what I like to do to cheat, there's a couple ways you can cut this. You always want to cut from the back. There's a couple ways you can do it. You can cut sides at one time, so like side 1, side 2, side 3, side 4, etc., etc. But what I like to do, put this right where those lines are and just cut around. So I usually use this mat and then I just rotate it because it won't move. And you're going to see that from the front, you're exactly 1/4 inch away. And because you've used the foundation paper, it's not wavy over here because that's what would always happen to me. So I'm going to cut all 4 of these down and then I will remove the paper and answer any questions that you guys send in. If it's not already in the works, I'd love a curvy log cabin paper. It's actually on our list, but it's pretty low on the list. It's not the highest. It'll get done eventually, but I think it's pretty low on the list. But yes, and I do know that Creative Grids does have a ruler to do those. That works great too, if you need something in the meantime. So to pull the paper off, I just pull the paper off. I usually do the outside first. Actually, I don't usually do this. My kids do it. But the way I taught them was do the outside, pull these little things off in the center. I miss the 69 per gallon days and 5 loaves of bread for $1. Yeah, well, see, I worked on Stitchy Stars. I'm really loving it. I'm going to mount on a piece of barn board from our old barn. That'll be awesome. Yeah, I worked on, let's see, I have not done Lori's red blocks, so I need to do those. And I have not worked on Adita's free sew along, so I need to do that. But I got a lot of cross stitch done. I was not home. I was gone for like 9 hours on Saturday, which was quite a bit for me. But I sewed, let's see, I sewed some Riley Blake blocks. I sewed some Swirly Stars 2021. So that's nice. And I have a lot of fabric starched right now, just waiting to work on it this week. So I did do a lot of starching this week. I'm out of starch, so I ordered some and I'm just hoping it comes. Do you know anyone who repairs Alisos? No, I don't. You could always look like in your city, sew and back shops and see. So from here, one thing you can do is like, okay, for the front camera, this is what I do at home. Put your trash on your ruler like that and put it in your trash. And then it doesn't go all over your floor. Okay, so that took 50 minutes to make some. It usually is not that long. Okay, so page 2 is done, page 1, page 2. So we'll just put these on my board. And on this next part, I'm gonna try to do everything a little bit quicker. So for our first block, we're using the white rectangle. And we're gonna put C's on the outside. So I'm gonna take 8 of these, 2, 3, and I'm gonna draw a line from corner to corner and pin those on so that we can just chain piece. Why do you starch? I starch because I sew really fast and I get more accurate blocks. And if I don't have accurate blocks, I kind of lose interest in the project. So I just prefer to starch. Is there a reason to pull the paper now before it's assembled? That's totally up to you. I prefer to take it off now because I feel like it's just, yeah, I don't want to have to deal with a big piece of, like a big quilt with, I can't imagine taking it out of an entire quilt because it would be in the seams, and then when you pull it out of the seams, it takes a while. Sewing at home, do you do all of your cutting for multiple blocks at once? Yes, and I stack up I'm starting to get ahead on Susan Aki's. She has a new sew along that's going to start, and I have 22 fabrics picked, 22 blocks with the fabrics picked. So I'm going to starch all of that. I'm going to cut all 22 at the same time, stack them up on 22 design boards, and get them all done. That's the only way I can get stuff done, is to mass produce. So I do pin these. And the reason why is when it's on the machine, I want them to stay in place. So I'm going to do these, and then I'll do the next part, and then we'll be closer to being done. And I know this is like an extra step doing this, but it really improves my accuracy. You could glue it, I guess, if you wanted. Do you ever use folded corner ruler by Creative Grids? I have not. What brand would you recommend since the Lisos are in back order? I don't know. That's all I use, so I can't really recommend anything else. I do know that Doug Lico really likes the Reliable iron, so I would try that. He loves that iron, and I'm sure if you had any questions on it, he would answer. His email is on his website, Antler Quilt Designs. So those are ready, and now we're going to do these. So we need to put the blue G on the bottom of a B. We're only going to be able to do one side this time, though, one side at a time. So I will draw my lines. So I'm doing these 2 steps. Draw my lines on here and then do that. Is there a flying geese paper side for this step? So no, there's no flying geese on this row. So we don't have any paper. The only paper we have for this block is the square and a square that we just did. But the other rows that have flying geese, yes, there is paper. And we do list the paper size you need in the pattern. And we also give you the cutting for if you don't want to use the paper, because I know that not everybody wants to use paper. So I'm just drawing my lines. I, at home, sometimes don't draw the lines, but I've tried it on camera and it doesn't really work. So this will just be one corner. And it doesn't really matter which corner you start on. It does need to be, yeah, it's a square, so it doesn't matter which corner. The next piece will matter. And when I'm pinning this, I do really try to make sure this is lined up and this is lined up, because when you're looking at it, I don't want to see navy from the front and I don't want to see light blue from the back. And that little step of doing that will make, it actually will make a difference. Any news on Zen Chic's Dance in Paris line? We will put that on the list and answer Friday. I don't know off the top of my head. I do know that Tula Pink's fabric is going to start shipping. But when they say it's going to start shipping, it doesn't always ship when they say. So I'm hoping it does start shipping. So from here, I'm going to use the same foot. It's open toe. I'm going to move my stitch length to like a 2. And I'm going to just stitch directly on that line. Pull my pin out as I go. And just keep going. Now, if you wanted to use square and a square paper for this step, you actually could use the, let me look at 2-inch finished square and a square paper and only do the bottom 2 squares on it. And not all 4. That would actually work great. What fabric are you using for Susan Aki Sew Along? I am using Stitch by Lori Holt. And I am going to use one of the bee backgrounds as the background. So I'll cut these off and just, these next ones, I'll probably chain piece. It'll probably get a little heavy back there though. Let's see. Okay, I got way off on that. I'm probably gonna do both sides at one time. So you can see right here, I kind of went, I don't know what I was doing. It kind of veered, so don't be afraid to just stop and redo. Now, if you go into over here, you'll mess up your block, but here it won't, because it should be pretty close. These are the ones that I have the most difficult doing on video. The square corners. Are you getting the hanging deco frame back in stock? Yes, it is out of stock and Checker has it on order with the vendor. So yes, it should be early June. What do you use to draw the diagonal line on the back? Okay, I was using the friction pin that disappears with heat. Now, if you're working with black fabric, I would use a white chalk pen by Clover. And I rarely sew with black, so, but I do have that pen. Any updates on low volume April? We can give you an update Friday's live stream. I don't think it's all here yet. I know it hasn't. I know it all hasn't arrived. I do know that. Why don't you use the Harvey starch, the heavy starch like Lisa Bonjean? I like it so much. Okay, so I did it on one quilt and it was just too heavy. So it became like cardboard and I felt like it was harder to work with. So, and it's kind of the same thing, like I use a medium starch, Lisa Bonjean uses heavy. Lori Holt uses best press. Everybody's different. Okay, I'm just getting offline on these today. These are not wanting to work. What's the status on white fabric? Okay, that white on white fabric, we do have some bundles in stock. The one, several of them are coming soon, meaning that they will be here in future months. The one that we have in stock, it will be a couple of weeks because they're items in stock, but they're also items that I have to wait for some to come in stock. So I think all but 3 are here. So basically I look at that screen every day, and the day it arrives is the day it gets cut, because I'm actually the person who does all that. So I'm going to cut these apart. I'm going to trim 1/4 inch away from the stitched line. And I like to use the Creative Grids ruler where it has the dotted line. And this side doesn't have that dotted line right here. So I always use the side that has the dotted line. Did you get the diagram I emailed you on oiling your Juki? I did not get it. So it might have gone to my spam, but I didn't get it. I did oil it this weekend, and I kind of oiled wherever, which is, I'm going to go ahead and cut these off. And I'm using Aurifil color 2600 as my thread just because of this navy. I don't want it to be too light. So I'm just trimming all these off. You could stack them and trim them also. I just don't trust myself to do that. And this is one thing that I was hoping, like eventually I can teach my kids how to do. Okay, so we're gonna go iron all of these. I'm gonna put my steam back on, which I actually already did. I'm gonna set my seam. I'm gonna put all 4 down, set the seam, and let it sit there for about 5 seconds. And then press to one side. Setting my seams will just make it secure your stitches where it like locks them in, and it'll turn over nicer. And then here, this is definitely where you need to use the clapper. So I do try to do it where they're all on top of each other. That way the ones on the bottom get more. Okay, so I'm gonna move these to the side and put my clapper on it. And I'm just gonna move this back so I don't hit the sewing machine. So I'm going to just press these down. Set the seams on all of these at one time and then press. And then put your iron right on that crease and just let it sit instead of rocking your, you don't want to rock your iron. And then do the same thing. Put your tip of your iron right on that seam and then let it sit. And then over here, I'm gonna put this here and I'm gonna put a clapper on top of those seams and keep going. Now that's kind of hard to do with all this stuff going on here, but it's what I do at home. And just put it under your clapper. And there's a bunch of different brands. It doesn't matter to me what brand, I just use whatever I have. You mentioned a Sew Along by Susan. Where can we get information? Moda Fabrics blog. So they are posting all kinds of information. All of that information came out last week. And it's gonna start like mid-June and go through, I think August, but all the details are on Moda's blog. So now I'm going to leave this clapper on here while we add these squares over here. So I ironed this first so that it would have time to flatten. Now you can see how flat that is compared to how it was. So, but I'm going to let this sit over here while I do this. So on this, you just want to do a corner that touches. So I'll just pin this. And again, you want this lined up and this lined up. And if you're ever not sure, turn it over and you shouldn't see that fabric from the back. From the back, and you shouldn't see the back fabric from the front. So we're almost done with the center part. Do you use distilled water? I use spring water. That's what the directions say on the Aliso. I used to use tap water and then I stopped because it wasn't working. Because I don't have a water softener and there's a lot of hard water where I live. Okay, so now we're going to just add this last one. That was fun. And that was fun. So just cut these away, trim. Now, like I said, you could stack this and cut. I just don't trust myself. How big should you cut down a corner square so you can trim it down? I have never figured out the math on how to do it. I've tried it a couple times and it hasn't worked. And again, if you want this to come out 100% accurate, you could use the 2-inch finished square and square paper and just do the bottom two. But I mean, I don't feel like you need to do that. It's just if you want to. And then, so this should be super flat. Super flat, super flat. It's super flatty. Sorry. So, sorry, I have to like talk. Y'all aren't asking me any questions. Does your thread ever pop out of your needle? Yes, but not very often, not on the Juki. Now, I've had other machines where it has really popped out more. So let's see. And in 2 weeks, we'll have the next pattern, which is the flying geese. You could go ahead and prepare your flying geese like you did in row 2. It's just your fabric placement will be different. Okay, so now we're going to start laying our block out. Did you watch the program on Scott Peterson Friday? They said it was new, but it was the same things. No, I didn't watch it, and the reason why is because his sister is crazy, and I cannot stand to sit and watch somebody that's that crazy. So I could not bring myself to support that craziness. And that's all allegedly, so I don't get sued, but no, I could not. He allegedly, yeah, he is, no, he needs to stay right where he is in jail, and he needs to stay there forever. So I can't, if it's something like that that makes me mad, I can't watch it, because I'll just start talking to the TV like an old lady, and I'm trying to pretend I'm still young, so I did not watch it. But yeah, I think he's 100% guilty, and if he ever gets out of jail, I don't think that would be good. So I've laid this out and I just followed my diagram. I think I have it right, and I'm just going to sew with a 1/4 inch foot and then come back and sew with a 1/4 inch foot and then chain piece that. So I'm going to switch feet on my machine. So Sorry, try to get my hand out of there. And when I'm at home, I usually use the screwdriver to like get it secure, but okay. So here, when you're here, you can either pin or not pin. I'll probably pin. And so I want that corner right there to be 45 degree. And then pull the pin right before you get to it. This weekend I did sew on a pin and I bent it. It was so sad for the pin because the pin had to go in the trash. Because it bent the pin. Did you get the Ray Dunn Trek? Yes, Deborah, thank you. I sent you a thank you note. I'll probably get there today. If you live in an area where you cannot get spring water, what else is suggested? I don't really know. I know that I used to use distilled water, and then someone told me that in the Aliso manual it says not to use it, so I stopped. But I used to use it. Have you watched Generation Hustle? The con artist stories are crazy. I started it, but I haven't finished it. Maybe I'll finish it today. I need something to do today, right? Like I don't have enough to do. But yeah, I might finish it. While you explain why you saturate when you starch, I let it saturate so that it completely shrinks the fabric, and I just let it sit on drying racks in my bathroom, and then it makes my project go smoother because I don't have wrinkles throughout. And I learned that from Lisa Bonjean. So Lisa Bonjean has a YouTube channel, and you can watch her and how she does it. She does it a little bit different than me, but she has a little bit more space where she starches. What is the reasoning behind having a continuous piece of fabric when stitching on the machine, having to scrap at the beginning and the end? So I don't do that, but other people do that, and they do that when their foot unstitch. So some machines, if you cut your thread, the thread will unthread the needle. It'll come out of the needle. So some people do it because of that. I just don't ever do that. I used to do it, but I don't anymore. I don't feel like I need to with this machine. So we can press this. Let's see, it says we're going to press towards the blues. Have you gone down the Chris Watts? Oh yeah, I've been watching that since the beginning. Chris Watts. Man, I do. Okay, I think that, let me think of her name. NK was involved, allegedly. That's what I'm going to say. So I've been watching that since day one, since he was on TV day one. I watch anything that's like current. Like I watch Barry Morphew. I watch everything. There's probably not one true crime case I don't know about. It's really ridiculous. I could do it as a job. I could just quit Fat Quarter Shop and just be a reporter and knock on people's door like Chris Hansen. Oh my gosh. So I'm going to CrimeCon, and I get to meet who I want. I get to pick who I want to meet. So I can either meet Chris Hansen, Nancy Grace, I've already met her before, BTK's daughter. That's who's on my list to pick from. Those are my top 3. But yeah, I don't really know. And I don't really know, like meeting them, it's fine, but I just want a picture. I don't really know what to ask them. And I don't want to be like weird, like, oh, you're famous. Like, you know, it's just weird. I'm not like a people person. I don't really know what to say. I just want my picture. But I don't know who I'm going to pick. But they came out with a schedule last night, and I was like about to pass out. I was like, oh my God, this is like the best thing ever. It's like all day. It's like 12 to 9. I don't know. It's like a 9-day. It's so awesome. I can't wait to go. That's my one vacation that's mine. I went 3 years ago. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. I pinned all of it, and I'm going to stitch, stop, and then stitch. So yeah, who would y'all want to meet out of all of those people? I mean, I've already met Nancy Grace, but if I met her, I could take my picture and get it signed. Her kids go, and her husband goes, and now I know not everybody is a Nancy Grace fan, but I will tell you that I saw her speech that she did at CrimeCon. It was 1 hour. It's the best thing I've ever seen in my whole life. I mean, I've seen a lot of speakers. What Nancy Grace is, she may be a true crime reporter, but she's a storyteller, and that's how she makes her money. Chris Hansen is my vote. Oh yeah, he's kind of, I don't know. I gotta figure it out, because I thought Dateline was going, but they're not going, so I don't know what I'm gonna do now. So here I'm gonna kind of, so I know some of y'all hate when I talk about true crime, so y'all put some questions in there for me to answer, and I'll stop talking about true crime. But I love, yeah. It's probably, so from here I'm actually gonna trim this down before we add the outside, because I can see with my eye right there. Look at that. That needs to come off. So I'm gonna trim. And also get like any of these leftover little threads out. Not that it matters, but. Oh, and we have some super chats. Piggy says thank you. Valeria Bauer, you are amazing. Thank you. Thank you for watching. And Seven and the Littlest Mew, Shiba Dog shaking his hips saying thank you. Oh my gosh, I've seen your dog, I think, on Facebook. It's so cute. So now we can build the outside. Yeah, thank you for everybody for watching. We're on page 4. Oh, okay. So I'm going to kind of keep this to the side, but I'm going to follow this. And, you know, you're supposed to put this fabric with this fabric, but if you're sewing and you know, mix it up, I think it's fine. I don't think it has to be exact. So these will face the center. Let's see. This is pretty. I like this fabric. And then my square and a square are going to go on the outside. So the one question that I got earlier is, oops, I'm missing one. Okay, hold on. Oh, it's on the floor, sorry. I was like, where did it go? Okay, so if you had left your paper on right here and you sew this together, that's all fine, but when you take it off, not only do you have to pull the paper over here, you have to pull the paper from this 1/4 inch seam, and that just is extra work that I don't think that you need to do, but that's just me. Now, this, let's see. This is upside down. I was like, what is going on? I was like, what? Why is that wrong? Okay, good. Okay, so I'm gonna pin. What was Nancy like? Nancy was very, very nice. She was awesome. She is very personable. She's a real person. I mean, she may be famous, but she was there. I mean, she is a mom. Her kids are there with her. Her kids go. Her husband, I mean, and she's beautiful. I mean, you know, TV can age you, but man, she is gorgeous. Have you watched the new docu-series about the Son of Sam? Yes, I did not like it. I think that it's, I think that any person in their right mind who believes anything that comes out of anyone's mouth is crazy to begin with first, because people lie all the time. But if you really believe a serial killer, something is wrong with you. Something is really wrong with you. So yeah, I did not like it. I wish that I hadn't watched it. I felt like it was a waste of my time. Okay, so now I'm going to stitch down here. What was your first TV show on crime you watched with your mom? Okay, what was that? Heart to Heart? And I had a friend, okay, she's still one of my very best friends. She lived across the street. And she was into like, there wasn't TMZ when I was little. There was People Magazine, and they got People Magazine, and she was like, oh, did you know that he killed his wife in real life? I mean, allegedly. I honestly don't even know what I really think about that case, but, and then she used to watch the two women, Cagney and Lacey, something like that. Did you decide to size down your Adita blocks? Okay. So I was so busy this weekend that I did not even touch that. But I am going to size them down, I think, and they will be done before Friday. Somehow, some way, they will get done. I literally sat in my car yesterday 5 hours because my daughter has to actually work for the dance studio. She doesn't get paid. It's part of her student program, assistant program, something like that. And she had to assist 6-year-olds doing the hip-hop audition, which is hilarious. And she's like, they don't listen. I'm like, oh, really? Because you don't really listen either. So that's good for you to have. And then I had to bring her lunch. Well, she wanted Panera Bread, so I bought Panera Bread, paid for it. Started going down the road. Road was completely closed. Had to turn around, find somewhere else to get her lunch, and I barely got it there on time. So since I'm going to actually leave these chained together and see how it works. So yeah, I told Kevin, I was like, well, I lost money because... And he goes, did you ever go back to get it? I'm like, no, because the road was closed. So I don't know if there was a car accident. It was definitely not construction, so... I love Joe Kenda. Oh, I love Joe Kenda. So if you want to see some good stuff, go on YouTube and Google Joe Kenda Cruises, and the person who puts the cruises together has a whole YouTube channel, and there's some great content on there. He does not go to CrimeCon because CrimeCon is usually sponsored by the Oxygen channel, and CrimeCon is sponsored, and Joe Kenda's show is on Investigative Discovery. But he's done a lot of cruises, and if he does another one, I might go on it. Just me. Because, you know, I need a break. Yesterday I sat in my car for 5 hours because that's how much of a break I needed. I was like, I need a break. Well, I mean, I had to, like, take her stuff, and it was only because she was working, and she doesn't have a car, so she can't, like, go get herself food. But she got in the car. She was like, I'm so tired. I was like, yeah, me too. She's like, you've been sitting in the car. What are you tired of? I'm like, don't even start. So true crime, is true crime all solved crimes or ongoing? True crime is anything that is crime related. So it could be unsolved, solved. At CrimeCon, the reason I like it is they talk a lot about technology and different things. Cops are there, people on TV, but it's a learning experience. They talk about DNA. They explain genetic genealogy. They explain, okay, when it goes to the crime lab, this is how they do it, and this is how it can be messed up. It's a very factual. It's not like a exploitative thing. Any ideas what the next things you will be demoing for us after Socialites? I have a couple ideas, but I might do some that are no demos, where I just sit on the couch, because that would be nice. Is this kit still available? No, it is all sold out. We do have fabric requirements, though, online. What size creative grids do I use the most? 6.5 by 12.5. And that is this one. That's the one I use the most. But I do use those square rulers, all of them, throughout the entire, like this weekend, I probably used all of these at least once. So from here, the great thing about this triangle paper, foundation paper, is look, all my points match. And if you wouldn't have used triangle foundation, or if you wouldn't have used foundation paper, not triangle paper, it wouldn't have matched. So from here, I'm gonna pin these. What size triangles on a roll does Stars and Stripes quilt use? Okay, I don't know. I will look that up and I will get that to you Friday. And I did see that she's doing a sew along on that, so I'm going to have to do some research on that. What kind of pins am I using? Let's see. Clover Silk Pins 2501. I like thin and long. Do you watch Scary People Last Night about the Amityville of the DeVoe family? No, I don't actually believe that. I think that those people lied. I don't think that they're... But I have watched a bunch of stuff on that, but I don't think they're telling the truth. Any suggestions on favorite jelly roll patterns or quilt alongs? So, I like Jelly Roll Jam, Jelly Roll Jam 2. We have a lot of Jelly Roll free videos. As far as patterns, I'm not sure. That's my least favorite pre-cut. So that one is harder for me to answer. My favorite pre-cut is the layer cake. Oh, okay. So now we're asking, what are y'all eating? I'm hungry, actually. My stomach keeps growling. A chocolate macaroon, that sounds good. A coffee and a banana. When can we order the newest fabric lines coming out? Okay, I have everything online for pre-sale right now for cookbook. When can we order? Okay, I'm working while watching. I'm not eating, but I'm listening at work. Yay. Okay. What is the blue background fabric? So it's listed on the blog. We'll have to look it up. It is a Thatched by Robin Pickens Navy. I don't know the exact number. My husband's fixing lunch. Oh, that's nice. Okay, look, my thread just came unthreaded. See? Y'all asked if it did, so of course it had to. It was listening. It said, let's unthread. Okay, let's see. It doesn't usually, though. Why do you like layer cake? Because I can starch it easily, and it never has creases. It bothers me when I open a fat quarter bundle and it's got creases because I don't want to have to get them out. Do you have the bag and apron craft panels available as pre-order? No, we don't do the yardage, but we have a click to notify on those. So hopefully everything matches. Let's see. So I just kind of make sure my points match. Everything matches, so we'll iron it. Let's see. It really doesn't matter which way you iron because there's so much sashing in this quilt, but I'll iron according to the pattern. Set my seam. And then when I'm pressing, I've got my iron right on that crease. And I try not to rock my iron too much. Is there any chance you might be carrying some of the stabilizer used in bag making bust sides soft and stable like Decoville Light? Okay, we'll put that on the list to order. Anything you want to order, just email customer service and they will email it to us and we'll order it if we are able to get it. We do have all of the Kimberbell stabilizers. What is your favorite layer cake pattern? Layer cake lemonade, because it's so easy. And yeah, that one. I also like the pattern Wish from Bonnie and Camille's book, The Quilt Bee, because you can use the layer cake to make the front and the leftovers you use on the back. So now I'm going to trim this down. And just a little bit should come off. Just your, you know, just a tiny bit should come off. A big chunk should not. This, okay, look, that's wavy. Look at that. That's horrible. But you can't chop that off. If you chop that, you're not gonna have any seam. So I'm just gonna get my threads off. I'm gonna let that be wavy. And the reason it's wavy is right here. These corner squares, it dips. But don't chop. If you chopped that, you wouldn't have any points. So that's just wavy. Yeah, this one is too. But my points match, so that's good. Okay, and I have a thread coming out. I'm going to show you how to get that out. Perfect. Okay, so this thread, you can either cut it or pull it from the back. So I don't like to cut it because I don't want to accidentally cut my fabric. So what I'll do is put a pin right where that thread is. Go to the back and try to find where it's coming from. And it's coming from right there. You just have to find it and you just pull it through. And that way you're not, because I mean, I just feel like I would cut it. So that is block 5. You're gonna make 3 more of these. So what I will do is, since I cut all of it, I will just take all of this home and put another design board on top with the batting side down, because that will keep it in place. And I will come, when I come back Friday for Friday's live stream, I will have all of the blocks done. And now I'm happy to answer any more questions. How will you fix that in the final quilt? I will show you right now, actually. That's a good question. I can actually show that. So sashi needs to go right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the one that's crooked first. I got to find the side that's crooked. I think it's that one. Yeah, it's that one. So see, it dips, and the way you can tell, look at that. It dips. It does a dip. So what you can do is leave your, okay. You can leave your ruler right on the edge so it's straight, right? So that's where it should be. Get your sashing. Sorry, my stomach is growling. Put your sashing on there. Try not to move it away from the ruler. Pin right here. Pin right here. And then the rest of this needs to pin there. So you get that line straight with your ruler. Pin. Okay, now when I flip this over, you're going to see a dip in the inside. There's your dip. But it's hidden because I lined it up with the ruler and I put my sashing straight. So I'm going to sew that real quick. And you'll never know because that dip is now straight. I have a kit and I want to use triangles on a roll. Do I cut fabric according to the pattern? So in this pattern, we have notations on which to use. So you should have plenty. It doesn't waste any fabric. Will you be restocking the Kimberbill red, white, and bloom? Yes, they are not going to come back until July though. Can you tell us the triangles needed for Among the Stars block of the month? Yes. In the book, it is in the book, but right after this live stream, we will go to the website and we can go ahead and put that link in the book description. Have you ever considered using Deb Tucker's Studio 180 rulers? I haven't. I would probably need to take a class on how to use them. Wow, your block is perfect. Oh, thank you. So guys, thanks so much. Oh, I got to do the backing. Okay, hold on. Okay, let me move all this stuff off. I'm going to move all this off because I'm going to need room. Okay. Ooh, I forgot. Oh, I was about to. Oh, okay. Sorry. Let me get everything. Okay. Okay. So in my box, I have all my stuff, like all my little leftover pieces of everything in here. So you can see as you go, it gets shorter and shorter because, you know, you've made stuff. And I do keep all of my finished row in this bag because it keeps it nice and flat. It just keeps it nice and flat. Okay, so I'm going to go to the pattern. These are the fabric requirements. I'm going to go to my borders, which is not released to everybody, only the people who have the kits. This is where my block 5 go back in. Okay, block 8. Okay, so I'm going to do the math right on camera. So I want these borders right here and my sashing that goes between, I want it length of fabric. Now, if you want to do it with the fabric, just follow the pattern. I cannot stand in my quilts to see a diagonal line right there. If it is sitting on me on the couch, it'll drive me crazy. So I look at A. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We need 6. This is what I do at home, literally. I handwrite it out. 2 by 56. So I'm gonna have to get that cut off my length before I use the leftovers. I'm also gonna need 4 4.5 inch strips, and I can see it from here. So one needs to be 66, one needs to be 64. And I cut this 76 so that I have 10 extra inches. Now this is unstarched, that's what that says, unstarched border. I cut that off, and that's what I told y'all if y'all wanted to do. So 6 times 2 is 12. 4.5 times 4 is 18 maybe? Is 18. So I need 30 inches across the length. 4, 8, 6, 7, 18, 19, 20. So I need 30 inches. So what I'll do, I'm just triple checking my math, because these are my A's and my B's, and I just want this sashing that goes right here. You can see it easier here. I want that length and I want that length, because that saves me 20 minutes in sewing with the fabric strips together and then subcutting them. I cut them once, and I just don't have time, and I love length of fabric. I get a better result, but a lot of people don't like length of fabric. So if you don't like length of fabric, we've written this for width of fabric, because all of you guys, I've gotten so much feedback that you don't want length, but I'm just showing you what I do. So I need 30 inches off. So I'm going to take this. Now it says unstarched, so I'm going to leave this somewhere so that I know when I go home I've got to starch it. So this is 76 inches wide, so it's super long. So what I'm going to do here, okay, I'm going to leave the folds together. I'm not going to cut that off because it'll make it easier for me to starch. So since I need 30 inches, I need to cut 15 inches in, but I need a little bit more than 15. So I'm going to put this on my mat, go over, let me move the mat up, I'll show you. There we go. So 15 inches, but it's going to shrink because you're going to starch. So I'm going to go 2 more inches. I'm going to cut 17. Okay, Now I'm going to put this little sticker back on right here. I need to starch it. This is going to be for my border. And this little section, you just won't use the salvage, but you just use these little strips for your remainder of when you need stuff left. So, and you will have 10 extra inches from this left over. So what I can do is I'll starch this and I'll starch this. Before we start row 6, I will cut down my borders, and then it will show you everything you have left, and we'll go from there. So that's how I will start row 6, is by, but I need to starch both of these pieces. And I wanted to thank you to Patty Green for being a YouTube member. And I think that's all the questions we have, but if you have any questions or anything you want me to answer, just comment in the box and I will be sure to answer, and I look forward to seeing you Friday. So have a great Monday.